Okay, so thank you everybody for coming here today. Um, we'll save you all some time, and what we'll do is we'll get started in some of the questions that we've got on the live AMA chat. If you've got any questions, raise your hand, and you'll be invited to speak. And yeah, let's kick it off. So the first question we've got here today is from Juice Crazy. And the question is, those of us who have been here from the beginning with large fleets of mechs acquired on OpenSea and in the in-game marketplace, what can we look forward to in the future with Nexus and beyond these large fleets?
So Nexus is going to be pretty good for people with large fleets, especially with the syndicate system coming in and being able to actually share your fleets amongst other players. Almost like better than a rental system, more like a employee system, if you will. Kind of like I think Marty, this is inspiration from you actually, how you envisioned people would run your fleets.
Yeah, I'm a businessman. I gotta think about structure and how do we make sure that people are adequately incentivized and stay in line.
Yeah, so that's
Hope none
coming
of
in the
my
Nexus
employees are
release.
listening today.
Hey Morgan, everyone. Morgan is our game and narrative designer. He's come up on stage just to help me out if we get any sticky questions about game mechanisms coming in the next update. So welcome to the stage, Morgan.
Good morning, everyone.
What's up, man?
Morning, Morgan.
Hi, Morgan.
Okay, so we'll go to the second part of this question. Has Phase 3 been pushed back? I'm looking forward to the assets and management of resources in the RTS game, and will I be able to stake my own mechs on future land purchases to have them protect my assets?
So Phase 3 has definitely not been pushed back, and if anything, we've put more renewed focus on it. And yes, you'll absolutely be able to do that. That is definitely what's in plan.
Okay, and has Phase 4 been pushed forward? There seems to be a lot of hype for the FPS, and has this become a main priority?
So I don't actually see them as separate things. But yes, the first-person shooter was definitely brought forward quite a while ago. Essentially because we have the engine already, so it's a lot quicker win. But it hasn't replaced the RTS. They're different teams. So don't be worried that that's pushing Phase 3 back. It's more like Phase 3 and Phase 4 will probably come around the same time.
Ooh. And with the re-release of the Battle Arena in a couple of weeks, will the new and polished system coincide with a full Nexus release, or will we be looking at another shifting meta over the weeks following?
So we're obviously first step is to bring back the Battle Arena online, and then release Nexus, which is not that far away. So timelines haven't shifted.
And there is a saying of about 2 weeks. Is that the time frame that we're looking at?
It's not a set in stone. I'm hoping we'll get it back online quicker than that, but we should definitely have it back online by 2 weeks.
So, question from Leo Crest: how will mech's power levels compare between the two generations, especially with the changes to rarities? For example, Genesis there are only 10 mythics per faction versus 120 in Nexus. What was the reason to reduce the number of rarities from 10 to 5?
Morgan, I don't suppose you have any kind of insight on this?
So I think part of this actually came from putting together just the sheer number of skins for 10 different rarities was a lot of work when it's going across 3 different factions, all with their own different skins, and then also just like the number of mechs and weapons that was going across that. And having a huge, like, different number of rarities for those items was obviously going to be quite a bit of dev time. So that would have made it just take longer to bring out for all of you to start enjoying and being able to acquire. But also, it does get difficult to differentiate between the rarities when you have so many of them. Like the differences become much smaller and harder to properly define when you have so many of them. So having a smaller number that are much more firmly defined as to what it is that's special or unique or different about them ended up being like both less dev work but also more focused dev work, in that our especially art team were able to put way more time and effort into each individual look than they would have if we were trying to do double the number in the same amount of kind of time.
And that definitely comes through. The new skins are amazing.
Yeah, they really are. Okay. So also, are syndicate weapons able to be equipped cross faction, like putting an RM flamethrower on a Boston mech?
You can, yes, but you'll have to figure out a way to actually bring it in on world. So you'll likely have to go through what we call the black market.
So if I were to I'm in Red Mountain, so if I buy like a BC weapon, I could just like buy it off the market on Supremacy, and then I'll be able to use it.
Not the Supremacy market, unfortunately, because that's
Or
limited
OpenSea.
by faction. But you could pick it up on OpenSea and bring it in, or someone else might pick it up on OpenSea, bring it in, and then sell it on the Supremacy market. So that can happen too.
Why is it that the current marketplace is limited by faction? Like, I really wanted to buy some BC mechs, but since I'm in Red Mountain, I wasn't able to. What's the reason for that?
So the marketplace is in game, which means it's part of the lore and it plays a function for the actual storytelling of the game, which means that you're in the marketplace. It is limited to other people within your faction. We are toying with the idea of launching our own, black market in Exian in the passport, so that there is some kind of degree of separation there. But for now, the black market is OpenSea.
Yeah, but why?
Because it's part of the actual economic functions of Supremacy. So being able to run things across the black market and sell them into your faction for more than they would sell on the black market is actually an opportunity for some players.
So we could be like merchants, like smuggling shit in,
Yeah, exactly.
and make money like that. Interesting.
Hey. Next question. Let's go to it. Juice Crazy is asking, I enjoy playing with my teammates and understand that in any game there will be wins and losses. I've had my fair share of victories and defeats since the start, and usually happy to break even supporting my mechs and teammates. That said, what is being done to maintain stable, sustainable gameplay so I don't feel like I'm wasting my time on subs and a shifting meta that I cannot afford to ape into?
So we are definitely going to change the mechanisms within the battle arena, so to take it away from that cost up front to as I say, ape in, because it definitely has a negative effect on the gameplay, and becomes a very much risk-based gameplay, which is not a bad thing in and of itself, but people play a bit meaner when so much is at stake right from the get-go. So it is it is our focus with this returned battle arena to take that away and focus on incentivizing the actual battles themselves.
And another question from Juice. Is a summon faction ability in the works to help Zai with balance issues?
No. We're going to give all the faction abilities a bit of a twist and probably focus a bit more on mech level abilities to make Mech Commander more fun. So right now, we're trying to move away from that summon side of things to something a bit more engaging. I don't know how much you want to give away, Morgan, but feel free to jump in here if you want to.
Yeah. So the thing is that we've got quite a few options as to where we can go from here with what we're trying to achieve with this sort of like rebalance and tweaking and just kind of a little bit of a rebuild of how the battle arena works. We've definitely realized that like Mech Commander is the sort of thing that a lot of people did really want, and that has changed the way that the game plays quite significantly. And we would really like to further empower people who have their mechs in a battle to be able to more directly interact with them, while at the same time being aware that, of course, all of the people who are spectating, so to speak, also need a way to have an opportunity to interact with battles much more frequently. So we're looking for ways to ensure that any ability that is used is less of a sort of fire and forget in a way. Like when you summon a reinforcement or some of the dogs for BC, they just kind of appear on the field and go and do their thing. No one is really instructing them what to do. There isn't really much of a choice about where to spawn them in. They just kind of, they're just like another added AI element to the game that players don't really have enormous amounts of control over aside from just putting them in the first place. So we're looking at ways to transition that kind of effect from less of a let's summon another discrete unit into a battle that then operates like all the other existing ones, and more towards them being a kind of area control concept. So you might be able to like deploy the dogs to anywhere you'd like on the battlefield, but they'll only patrol a certain area, and that effectively moves towards them being a way to lock down certain areas of a map, to flank enemy mechs, to prevent them from moving in certain directions. And then you're able to use Mech Commander or other abilities like landmines, as we've seen them added recently, and airstrikes to punish mechs that are cautious of moving into these sort of controlled areas. So basically, we want to give a lot more control to the hands of all players as to exactly what's happening on the battlefield and where things are moving, where things are going, and what sort of areas that like a lot of the action is happening. So if we do end up going that route with, say, the dogs, we'll be doing something similar for both of the other factions as well. But we're also looking into additional abilities that mech commanders can use for their own mechs, additional abilities that are mech specific that supporters can use to help allied mechs, as well as just more abilities that allow the spectators to have a more tangible, direct effect on the battlefield without it necessarily being we're just gonna blow up an enemy mech or do a bunch of damage to them at the same time. So that's the sort of stuff we're exploring. We've got a lot of stuff that's sort of spinning up and in the works, and I think everything that we're working on will make it into the game in some form. It's just a matter of which ones we prioritize for this renewed version of the battle arena that's going to be coming back within the next couple of weeks or so.
Great, thanks, Morgan. All right, Raj.
Thanks, Morgan. So another question there as well about that. How will the new changes for the Battle Arena relaunch resolve the issues that caused it to be taken offline?
So, I mean, we're going to give it a big rehaul, and we are going to essentially change the way you play with subs and you're rewarded with subs. Subs will still be a part of the Battle Arena, but not in such a direct way. So we're going to focus more on exhibition battles and like tournaments, and the like whaling in to support your team members. We're going to change the way that works so that it's not directly subs based. This will also give new players a way to enter and engage, and it will also change the way the game kind of allows people to run sabotages and things like that, and it will make it a lot less incentivized. So that's one of the big ways it's going to change. I don't want to speak too much on this as we've got quite a bit of testing to do before we bring it back, but it is going to change the way people relate with the token in the game and shine a lot more attention on the actual mech owners.
Okay, thank you. So there's a couple questions here, and Slander's asking, can we have a training area or delta open to learn new abilities and mechanics without as much risk? Also, maybe give new people confidence in the gameplay as well, by having deployable abilities visible on maps. So Sabini's also asking the same sort of question around the use of Delta Force. So could you explain a little bit more about Delta Force's role in the next few weeks?
Yeah, so we will be doing a lot of testing, and we will include Delta Force in that as much as we can. I don't know exactly what that looks like just yet, and we'll do an announcement on that probably towards the end of the week.
Okay, thank you. Right, so guys, let's make sure we're putting in our questions in the live AMA chat here. Drywall Punch has asked, does the team expect to have a larger player base? Is there a current marketing push, or will P2E guilds be joining on the Battle Arena restart, or will it mostly be the current players?
Yeah, obviously it'll be current players. I'm hoping a lot of the players that stopped playing come back. That's probably our first focus, is just getting all those players back. There's a lot of characters that I miss on the Battle Arena, so that's our first focus. With the new changes to the Battle Arena, the onboarding story will be a lot simpler, and the game will be much more open to non-crypto natives and Web 2 type players. So we fully anticipate a lot more people coming in. And once we're happy that the Battle Arena is us putting our best foot forward, there'll be a big marketing push around that too.
I can speak to that a little bit as well, if you like, Alex.
Yeah, go for it, Morgan.
So yeah, as Alex was saying, like, we are doing a big push towards streamlining our onboarding process. There's been some issues that have arisen for like how new players can get into the game in the first place. And so we're making a big concerted effort to not only empower people to be able to like register using different methods, including people who aren't already using crypto stuff, both as a way to expand out the player base, which just gives everyone more people to play with, more people to interact with. But also, they are introduced to our system and to what sort of, merits or bonuses that they would get from, becoming sort of coming even more on board with other aspects of our system. But the main thing is that in order for this game to succeed, we need a strong, growing player base. And the best way to achieve that is by getting more players who, are kind of here to have a lot of fun and don't want to invest too much until they've gotten a good feel for the game. And so having a route for those players to come in and experience portions of the game, to be able to have an immediate understanding of what the battle arena is like, how to interact with it, and how to get the most enjoyment out of it is really valuable. This will also sort of result in a lot more clarity in like the UI and in the menus and stuff. Obviously, there's only so much we can do in some respects while the game exists largely like in browser and doesn't have its own client or doesn't have a way for players to directly interact with the actual map itself. Currently, everything's done via the minimap. But we've got some solutions in place for like ways to be able to discreetly, have a sort of training function for new players so they can get a bit of a taste for what it is to use abilities, sort of deploy mechs, use mech commander, etc., and give them an understanding of what the game is like, and hopefully entice them enough to get fully on board with everything.
Yeah, that training ground is like a big focus. It's Morgan's right. Once we get the desktop client, the training will be a lot more interactive. Right now, it's a bit more kind of click, watch, but it will still give new players, just a bit of a tutorial, bit of a 101 on how to do things. There's a few members of the team who this is their focus, and we should see this come live relatively soon.
Thank you, Morgan and Alex. Leocrest is asking, is there any concern about how the new set of 5 rarities affects the scarcity or perceived value of old mechs? For example, there will be more mythic mechs than elite legendaries when all crates have been opened.
I wouldn't compare the Nexus and Genesis mechs, and Genesis mechs will always be desirable, and they'll always have a small like inbuilt advantage just being a Genesis mech. And every time we do new mech releases, the Genesis will get a bit of an upgrade too. So Genesis will never be forgotten, just as we've said with Genesis 2.0. The Nexus mechs, like, they're amazing, but they won't have that rolling update that the Genesis always will. So owning a Genesis mech will always be attractive.
Okay, thank you. Do put your hands up, guys, if you want to come up on stage and speak. You are welcome to do that. Otherwise, keep putting in your questions in the live AMA chat. Okay, so while the game's down, Miss Team Crypto and Maddie, what are you guys going to be doing with your spare time now?
I don't know, but it's not going to be as zesty as if Supremacy was up and running. That I could tell you for sure. I mean, I'll just do more research and just be anticipating this new update. I'm going to miss it, to be honest.
Well, we're definitely going to do our best to bring it back up as quickly as we can. I know we've said 2 weeks, but we're pushing for sooner than that. I never like to set expectations too high. It's better to impress people than to let them down. But we're trying to move as fast as possible.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I could look forward to is having Madi on my show, actually. If you guys want to check out youtube.com/MissTeenCrypto, I have my own podcast, The Miss Teen Crypto Show. Madi Greenspan is going to be a guest, I think, Monday. So that's going to be really fun.
Marty's always a good guest.
100%. 100%. It's going to be cool to get to know him and his entrepreneurial mind.
That'd be really cool. How about you, Marty? What do you plan on doing?
He must have stepped away from his Discord.
Yeah.
How are we doing with questions? We got any
Yeah,
hard
so we've
questions?
got another question that has just come up by Fox Saber. You answered a question about those having a big fleet of mechs and that it would be important for the upcoming changes. How about those of us with a much more modest sized fleet? Do we still stand a chance of succeeding in a battle arena?
Yeah, absolutely. And with the Nexus changes to the battle arena, there'll be more battle streams. So you won't be able to. Well, you won't have to sit and wait behind a train of mechs like you currently do. There'll be a lot more ability to get in there and run your mechs quickly. So, obviously people with a lot of mechs have a bigger advantage, but the game will still be open to those with on their handful.
Thank you. Yeah. So, Ruben House, if played skillfully with a decent amount of time and dedicated and a decent sized fleet, the old battle arena could hold great returns. Will the new arena or modes affect our ability to build our in-game network compared to how it's been so far?
So the battle arena that will come back will it'll definitely still be incentivized, and there'll be the potential to earn subs. The ability system will change, so maybe in different ways. There was definitely some players who did very well in the previous battle arena, and they may not like the new changes. And we will listen to all feedback, and it'll be constantly evolving. Mech battles themselves, they're always going to be like part of the economy of Supremacy, and we'll always do our best to incentivize that. And being a skillful mech commander is going to be even more important as we move forward.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Hey, Marty. Yes, we can hear you now.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
you're back.
I got rugged on my phone. I don't know why, so I'm on the PC now.
Awesome.
Yeah, I
Okay.
suppose I'm going to have to find somewhere else to drop nuclear weapons now. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do.
But thankfully, it's not for that long, and we'll be back on the battle arena in no time, ready to drop some more nukes.
So you're urging me not to drop any IRL nuclear bombs. Is that?
I mean, that would be nice, but I can't tell you what to do in your spare time.
Probably unwise. I guess these days it depends who you're going to drop it on, right?
Well,
Okay, so we've got another question here. BD40, when I win the Titan mech, can you guys make it look like Danny DeVito?
Probably not. I don't think we have the talent and skill to make something that beautiful.
But why the Red Mountain ones already kind of look like Danny DeVito, right?
Just need to make them hairy.
It's just exactly. Just put some hair on
Exactly, they're already short and stumpy, right?
it.
Okay, Marvian is asking a question here. What do you guys think about a new currency to stop using the sub as a transactional currency?
Yeah, the dual currency model is something we're playing with, we're modeling. I don't want to give too much away yet because it's still, all this kind of stuff still in design phase.
Let's master one currency first.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Fox Saber is asking, can you guys give us an insight into the next wave of mech designs you'd consider developing after the Nexus mechs? Can we look forward to other cool designs like the platform mechs?
I mean, yeah, there's obviously going to be another range, but it won't be for a while. Genesis 2.0 is technically the next designs coming out. There's nothing in the bank just yet for the range after that. That's a while away. Nexus hasn't even technically come out yet. So, but we will definitely involve the community in the next design phase.
Thank you. Chronicler is asking, I would like to have the question asked for the audience and in more rhetorical fashion. The current big players, do you think you did your best to help the game and community thrive in the way you use the battle arena leading up to the shutdown? And on a more positive note, what other functionality do you have planned for the hangar?
Did we do our best? I mean, we tried to do our best. Could we have done things better? Absolutely. I have no doubt. And if you look at the feedback channel, there's a ton of suggestions on how we could have done things better. It's everything about the battle arena is a balancing act. It's not just the balance inside the battle arena; it's also how we engage with the users on it. We regret how it's kind of ended up. When we saw the queues and there's like 100 BC mechs and no one queuing from Red Mountain and Zaibatsu, we realized, well, we've obviously not onboarded people into this battle arena properly, and we've obviously incentivized the wrong things. And, that's a hard realization to make, and that's my responsibility. That's my fault. So, yeah, we absolutely could have done it better.
Okay.
What was that positive second question, Raj?
What other functionality do you have planned for the hangar?
Oh wow, the hangar. So the hangar. I assume they mean the fleet management in the game UI,
I
or
guess so. I don't know.
well, obviously this is where composability will be supported, and it will also be where the repair functionality happens. So this will be where people actually repair their mechs and manage them. It'll be where you swap out your mech skins and do all that kind of stuff. So there's big updates to the hangar coming in Nexus.
And Foxo was asking, can we get a wiki update?
Yes. I assume they mean for the Nexus upgrades and the Nexus storyline. If so, that's coming.
Yeah, so yeah, that's what he means.
It looks like we have Ice Pickle trying to come up on stage.
Oh, there we go.
Yes, hello. Can you hear me all right?
What's up,
Hey,
Pickle?
Ice Pickle.
Hey, what's going on? I don't want you to feel too bad about that last question. From my opinion, it looks like the question was pointed at the players, whether the players felt like they were doing their best to help the community thrive and so on and so forth. But
I still see that as our responsibility, and when players go down a certain track of gameplay, it's because we either on purpose or indirectly incentivized it. So it's the players will go where they get the greatest reward, whether that's sups or just glee from griefing people or anything like that. It's the kind of behavior that ultimately we either incentivize to or away from. So it's always our responsibility.
For sure, and I appreciate that you take responsibility. That's a big deal. And so my question was more about kind of the phase 3-ish stuff. That's always been what I've been looking forward to the most, is getting into a rich player run economy and carving out a business for myself doing stuff. So it sounds like you were saying that you haven't really pushed back phase 3. It kind of felt like maybe you were bringing forward some emphasis on the first person shooter and maybe putting the more player interactive economy off. But are you saying that that's not really so much the case?
No, it's definitely not the case.
Oh, okay, awesome.
The actual teams who work on them are different. So the first person shooter team and the RTS/LAN team are two entirely different teams. And we came to the conclusion that the first person shooter can be worked on in tandem. Now that was pretty exciting. And
Yeah.
the actual first person shooter will hook in to the RTS game. So that's going to be interesting as well. So yeah, no, the land side of things with the bases, the economy, that's always been the focus, and it's always what we're heading towards, because it balances all of those incentivizations, and it
Right.
means you can build a business around mechs, and
Right.
then you can employ people, and now it becomes less about PvP and you know,
Right.
and becomes more of an actual like economy simulator. And that's it's always been our
Right.
focus, and definitely where we're headed.
Yeah, that's always been my opinion on how metaverse style games will be able to attain sustainability, is bringing in players and their unique the value in their time and their efforts and in their creativity to be able to do things like craft things or carve out niches in what they're able to provide to each other. So I will always be here saying, gosh, I can't wait for just more economic depth and more interactivity there. So I'm excited to hear that it's still a big focus. And maybe just my last little question would be, so what the things that I'm calling phase 3, is that what you're currently calling RTS?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Essentially, it's the land bases, crafting. It's where the Nexus blueprints will plug in, and yeah, it definitely provides way more economic depth, and that's when Supremacy stops being a zero-sum game.
Right. I'm so excited. Thank you.
No, thank you for the question. Yeah, the first-person shooter is in a lot of ways like an easier win. It's a lot easier to show, and there's a lot less economic modeling required for it. But that doesn't mean that the RTS and land side has become less of a focus.
All right, thank you, Alex, and thank you, Icepickle.
Thanks,
Hey,
Ice.
John.
I love your accent, by the way.
Morning, everybody.
What's up, John?
Morning, John. Hey.
All right, Raj, what do we got?
So we've got well, we need some more questions coming up, guys. So make sure that you're writing them in the live AMA chat if you're unable to speak. If you do want to speak, please raise your hand and you'll be invited to have a chat to us. Yeah, so I think we're just waiting for Tatin seems to be typing, so I think the question is coming.
I can see Slander asking about disk launchers again, and in the last AMA, I missed out on answering his question about disk launchers. I felt really guilty about it. There are no plans to bring a disk launcher in with Nexus, unfortunately. We may come out with a disk launcher in like a standalone. It may be with it'd probably be on Red Mountain, and I think we're going to call it the Reese, which is a bit of an inside joke. So look forward to that.
I hope we're not actually going to call it that.
That's the working title. You know, it might be something like Reese Launcher or
Can you guys like maybe
the
explain
Frisbees. Sorry, what was that, Marty?
What's the joke? I want to hear the joke.
So our chief operating officer, who's a Red Mountain player, I think he just goes by Reese Mountain or Red Reese or something. I don't know. He came up with an idea early on in Supremacy of a disk launcher, and for some reason, a lot of people found that pretty funny, and we joke about a disk launcher. But we actually did design one, and there will be a disk launcher in the game, so we'll probably name it for him.
Okay.
Yeah, he loves the disc launcher. Apparently says it's the best weapon in any first-person shooter, and I challenged him to actually name it in any first-person shooters, and I think there was 2.
I mean, I can name one, and it's the only one that needs to be named, because it's the best weapon made in any first-person shooter.
Yeah, so he's got a fan in Morgan, so the disc launcher is definitely coming.
Well, all right.
Oh, that'll be fun. Okay, we've got a question here. Sorry,
Disk launcher.
sorry, Marty, I missed that.
I said I look forward to killing your mechs with a disk launcher.
Hell yeah.
Okay, so Tatin is asking, I've been collecting mechs every time. I don't know if it was worth it. I just love to collect. Do mech owners with more mechs have an advantage on upcoming PvE and PvP game modes?
Yeah, of course. And I think, like I said, in the Nexus update coming soon, there'll be the syndicate system, so you'll be able to actually share your mechs out over multiple people and let them help you run them. In future, like the RTS land game, your mechs will directly be able to protect your base and invade other people's bases and things like that. So there'll be a huge advantage there. There's of course you're going to have an advantage being a massive fleet holder, and as the player base picks up and mechs become rarer and more desired, you'll be thankful you did collect at this early stage.
Thank you. So when is mech renting coming?
So the syndicate system has something really close to renting, which I think will satisfy a lot of people. And then the actual rental system where we run an actual rental market, that'll come a little bit later. So that'll be like a Nexus 1.2 release. But I think the actual syndicate system will satisfy about 80% of people's desires for this.
Captain Smalls is asking, will there be a Genesis holder qualify for free airdrops for the RTS game component?
Sorry, repeat the question.
Will being a Genesis holder qualify for free airdrops for the RTS game components, or are we expected to keep buying?
There'll always be advantages for Genesis holders and especially keycard holders. I'm not going to promise at this stage to airdrops of anything, but you'll definitely.
Oh, come on, Alex. You want free shit.
I know, and they'll, let me just say there'll be free shit in some form, but manage your expectations. But we'll always give something to Genesis holders.
Okay, thank you. And Freshmark is asking, does the mech guarding the land go along with the mech staking, or are we just doing mech renting?
I don't really understand this question.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I'm not too sure either. Maybe Freshmark wants to write the question again for us. In the meantime, we'll move
I
on
think he
to
just he's asking about the staking and I think that guarding the land is how you explain staking. So I think the answer is that yes, it goes with the staking.
Yeah, and so does the syndicate system. So with the syndicate system, you essentially stake your mechs to your syndicate, and when the land slash RTS comes, there'll be similar systems, especially to help your neighbors. You'll actually essentially stake your mechs to.
There's a mech staking mechanism before there's land in the game.
Yeah, there will be something. It's still in design phase, so I don't want to give away too much and say the wrong things. But there's definitely a lot of design around that concept.
Interesting.
okay. Alf the Nemesis. Are 60 mechs sufficient enough to dominate upcoming game modes, or should I plan to purchase more?
Definitely buy more.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess just follow Marty's advice. Yeah, I mean, I guess play it by ear.
I've been stacking mechs lately.
Yeah, I must admit that I too. If someone puts a mech too cheap on the marketplace, I pick it up. I don't think I'm the only one. I'm pretty sure there's people have written some bots to do the same thing because I've seen
I'm
some.
looking for deals right now on OpenSea, man.
It's crazy.
Yeah, if somebody in the audience actually wanted to sell a few, like at bulk rate or something, definitely hit me up.
So there's another question here. I'm a big fan of Mech Commander. How the FPS will integrate slash synergize with it, and what's in the works for it?
So I'm guessing you mean if you're the owner and you've contracted someone else to pilot your mech. So Mech Commander would obviously move from you giving a direct order to a machine to you giving situational information to the mech pilot. So, think about games like Grand Theft Auto where you've got the trail leading you to where you go. The mech pilot will have the same thing. So you'll click somewhere on the screen and they'll see that they should head over there, and you'll be able to communicate with them and give them more information around that. So Mech Commander turns more from actually just guiding a machine and actually becomes guiding a person. So that'll be a very important part of actually winning battles.
Right. And would there be any daily token distribution or token claiming for mech owners?
Not for doing nothing.
Awesome. And Vernon's asking, are you able to protect the land with rented mechs?
Yeah, definitely, and that'll be a big market for the rentals. I think that's when you really see demand on the rental system when, as a land operator, you see that someone's preparing a raid against you. Heading to the rental store will be a nice, easy way to bulk up your defenses.
Awesome. Okay. Tatin's got some questions. He's just typing them up, so they'll be there soon. Remember, guys, if you want to speak, put your hand up, and we'll invite you on stage. We do like to hear from you guys as well. So yeah, that would be nice too. Otherwise, we're just waiting on some questions, Alex. Okay. Vernon's asking, will Nexus Open Crate Day still go ahead?
Hell yeah. Nexus Crate Open Day is definitely not affected by the Battle Arena going into renovations.
Oh, phew. I was going to ask about that too.
Yeah, there's no way we would delay that again, and I'm really looking forward to people experiencing that because we've created something special, and a lot of work has gone into it.
I'm like, I feel like we should delay this to Christmas or something, or Hanukkah.
I feel like I would have to get bodyguards if I did that.
You might, man. You might.
So it's going to be a pretty fun event. We're all really excited to open up our crates as well as everybody else's. So yeah, looking forward to that day.
When is it exactly? I'm going to mark my calendar now.
So it's in 2 days, I believe.
Oh, really? When are there any new maps coming? Like, when is that happening?
Yeah, the Battle Arena will return with some new maps.
Okay. I've been waiting for that.
Yeah, me too. No, it's gonna be fun. They're more battle oriented maps, so they're a lot more balanced.
Did you say bounce? Or balance? Balance.
Okay, balanced. Yeah.
Okay. So I was thinking about a map with a trampoline surface, and that would not be good.
It also sounds like so that would challenge the physics engine in ways that I think would be pretty funny.
Yes.
Hey, Fox Saber's got a question here. Does the platform mech come fully equipped with basic weapons at the least, or do we need to have a weapons crate to fully equip them to be able to send them into the battle arena?
So the platform mechs, just like the humanoid style mechs, only come with 2 basic weapons. So you would need to either unequip your other mechs and move their weapons across, or buy some weapons. Obviously, after Crate Open Day, I think there'll be quite a few weapons on the marketplace. So if opening crates is not your jam, then you'll be able to pick them up off the marketplace. But I don't think they'll be as cheap. And we're actually going to do, after this AMA, we're going to do a bit of a flash sale. So you'll be able to pick up some crates cheap just for the next 24 hours. So as soon as this AMA is done, I'll put those changes in, and 24 hours flash sale.
Nice.
Hey, you heard it here, guys. Flash sale after the AMA. So
I may have to take some subs for this.
well, there's plenty of crates to go. Let's get them all. Patton's asking, when the new battle arena is released, will the records be reset? I mean, Weezai suffered a lot, like 2K win gap, and RMM with a 1K gap on BC from the disaster. Can we hope a comeback, or will we just need to forget the history on the new update?
In all honesty, I don't have an answer for this yet, and it's a bit of an internal argument. So we may kind of take the stats of the current battle arena and package it up as a historical moment, and it'll live on the wiki. That'll include like leaderboards and I think we're probably going to take quite a lot of the chat logs that we've had shared with us and tell that as part of the story of the original battle arena, including all the sabotage and skullduggery. And so the new battle arena will likely get a reset, but not forgotten stat stat modification.
Yeah, it's fairly common for games that have, significant overhauls periodically to sort of do a kind of like season style model or something like that in terms of like stat tracking, where you'll have your, lifetime stats, but also they'll periodically be reset when things are overhauled so significantly that like comparing what came before and what came after don't really make too much sense. So obviously, there's some implementation stuff involved, but at the very least, we'll be able to archive the existing stats, and at some point, hopefully, we'll be able to have them displayed for all time.
For research purposes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, when the supremacy historian checks the records, there'll be an interesting story there for sure.
That's the only
Yeah,
the
definitely.
only thing that they're gonna remember or care about in the beginning of Supremacy.
Sure. So Sirius, welcome.
You're muted, buddy.
Not serious.
There we go. How you going?
Going well, thanks, mate. How are you?
Yeah, good, thanks. I've probably got a million questions, but I thought I'd tone it into one that was kind of recent discussion about the new maps and that sort of thing. It's kind of interested. You mentioned, I think, in one of the previous AMAs something about like they were going to be more like arena style. Does that kind of mean like obviously some of the maps are pretty big now, especially with Mech Command, and we're having people, doing the run around and that sort of thing. Does that mean they're actually kind of going to be smaller? And also, does that mean that maybe spawn points are going to be like more sort of decided or less sporadic with the spawn points? Because a lot of the time that's kind of a winning point where if you get a bad spawn, you're done for the match sometimes.
Yeah, the spawns will definitely be fixed, and mechs will spawn in like deterministic ways that like match their faction. As for the size of the maps, not necessarily. They won't necessarily get smaller. But we will have mechanisms in place to stop people, just kind of trying to avoid battle. Cowards will be punished.
All right, awesome.
Oh boy.
Ah,
I'm toast. That's it.
Is that like
no,
that whole red cloud type of thing, like an evolution of that, or?
Yeah, probably closer to a PUBG style system where the edges start to shrink, and just kind of gameplay mechanisms that make it a bit harder to to run away and stay runaway. There's quite a few ways to do this, and progressively we'll like bring them out. It's not fun for everyone else to watch some mech kiting the battle, not engaging just to let everyone else kill themselves.
Man, you do know my strategy here.
Yeah. I mean, well, quite a few of the battles I watched, you weren't the only one. That's for sure.
Yeah, but I can tell you it didn't work. I kept trying it. It didn't work ever. I got my ass whooped. So
I think BC had an advantage here just with their speed.
yes,
Their speed being slightly faster than other mechs.
yeah, that's why I'm
And
looking.
so it definitely wasn't a winning strategy for Red Mountain mechs.
okay. Yeah, let's get into some more questions. Chronicler's asking, when is episode 2 of the graphic novel coming?
I don't have any information on this. It is being quietly written in the background.
Awesome. Great. And Taitu is asking, I only managed to buy one mech crate. Would you suggest to open on the day or wait for the future?
That's entirely up to you. I mean, I would open it on the day because I would want to know what's in it. But you can leave it as long as you want.
Oh, really? You have to actually open it? I thought they just get opened all at once.
No, you have to stand in front of the crate and open it.
Huh. I wonder if there'll be a market for unopened crates. Like people will pay more for them.
Yeah, well, we definitely have the ability to sell crates on the marketplace. So, yeah, good question. I kind of hope to see that. I think that'll be an interesting change up from the norm.
I've seen it before with the non-fungible fungies, where the unopened ones were going for way more than, a regular or even a rare one.
It's like
Unopened collectibles are certainly more valuable, especially when you get into like several years in, and especially if something makes it big.
yeah. So maybe some people should save some of their crates. I'll leave that to the people to decide.
Yeah, there's I can't, I'm not patient at all. Those crates are being ripped open the moment that we can for me.
I think it's the marshmallow test, right? Where you have the kid sitting in a room with a marshmallow in front of them, and the researcher says, I'm going to leave the room. I'll be gone for about 10, 20 minutes. And if you leave the marshmallow on the table and you don't eat it, I'll give you another marshmallow. And, the kids that leave the marshmallow and their patience wins over their desires, I think they generally do better in life.
Thanks.
Boy.
That's the polar opposite of me. If I see a marshmallow, that's going.
Good to know. I may test this in person, just to warn you.
That's fine. Do it. It's Pavlov dogs all over again.
Yeah, I'll ring a bell as well. I'll put the marshmallow down and ring a bell.
Slander's asking a question here. Is there a cost for attaching weapons at all?
Guys, don't give him any ideas.
Not currently, but great idea.
There's that in the Israeli army, they call that a kit bag question, because the new recruit always asks the question. They say, "Okay, we're going on a long hike. Everybody get ready by 5 a.m." And then the new recruit goes, "Do we have to bring our kit bags?" Which is like a 20-kilo duffel bag. The sergeant
You
goes,
do
"Well,
now."
since you asked, go ahead and bring your kit bags."
That's rough.
So it is an interesting question in that no, we'll never charge subs to swap out weapons, but in future versions of Supremacy, especially when land and bases come and there's an actual power system, doing maintenance on your mechs will have a power cost, but it will be minor. So I doubt it will affect many people unless they're overloading their power generators. So no, there'll never be a subs cost, but there will be in-game resources costs.
Great, thank you. So let's go to a question from Captain Smalls. Will the mech battle arena stats like win and kill rates potentially affect things like accuracy boosts and etc.?
I don't believe we have any plans for that, but things could change. I think it's more likely we would head to some kind of XP progression system, but for now, let's just say no.
Bernard's asking, what crypto/NFT events around the world can we expect to see Supremacy? Are players welcome to come and show support?
Yeah, so Kyle is currently in Paris for the Metaverse Summit and Ethereum's CC. And then he's maybe going to London for the, I think it's the NFT Summit, something like this. I forget exactly what it's called. We may, although we are kind of toying with the idea of not sending him to London because of the heat waves and the calamity at the airport there. So we may actually end up skipping that one. He's then off to Istanbul, blockchain Istanbul. Forget exactly what it's called, but it's a big one. And after that, he'll be flying over to LA for the NFT Expoverse. So if you're in LA or Istanbul, definitely hit us up. We'll definitely make sure we post on Twitter every time Kyle arrives at his destination.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, it's pretty hot in London at the moment. Around about almost hitting 40 degrees too. I remember Marty saying that it's quite hot in Israel at the moment too.
Yeah, I mean, we're used to that here in Australia, but we have air conditioning. And I'm fairly certain that it's a good chance that the hotel we've set Kyle up in does not have air conditioning. So, we may change our minds on that one.
In London, actually, they don't always have air conditioning, which I found that out the hard way, which is, it blew my mind. But I guess when, it's cold most of the time and you've never seen a heat wave, I guess it makes sense.
We've got heaters. I guess that's something.
The heater doesn't
Not going to help though.
when it's hot.
On the topic of traveling, Supremacy at different events, we've got a couple of others in Asia as well. Alex, some of us will be in Korea for Blockchain Week.
Nice.
The one
Yeah, that's right.
CoinFest, I think it's called.
And then Bangkok for the Pay to Earn Expo.
Yeah, that's it.
Awesome. So Supremacy around the world.
The Supremacy World Tour.
Yeah. Okay. So if you guys want to find out exactly where we are, always look at the Discord. Kyle tends to drop in where he is. So yeah, do feel free to come and say hello to us if you're in any of these cities when we are. So Captain Smalls, when Supremacy the movie?
Yeah, I think we'll just tie all of our cinematic trailers together and hope it makes sense.
Yeah, I was about to say the trailers are already pretty cinematic. They're kind of like trailers already, I guess.
Maybe we can get them all merged together and post it all out as one big trailer.
I mean, Netflix greenlit Resident Evil. I'm sure they can greenlight something like Supremacy.
Perhaps we could just open it up to the community and let somebody else write the screenplay and see if it's any good.
That's a great idea. Yeah, I guess a free Nexus mech for anyone who writes a fantastic screenplay.
Come on, that's worth at least 3 max.
All right.
I was going to
Three
say, I mean, if we're going to give out mechs for that, I'd say we should give out mechs for someone who writes a great screenplay and is able to get a deal from a studio.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I think Maddie's already written out a screenplay. He just wants those crates.
Right, because I've got so much time on my hands. I just, started writing the screenplay. So it's already ready, by the way. I'm gonna just waiting for a good deal as far as Alex he's got to give me more mechs. It's not enough.
All right, 5. How's 5?
Okay, fine. It'll be on your desk Monday morning.
Yes.
Hey, Tyson's asking, will the new battle arena or game modes be free to non-mech owners too? And do you plan to limit them on earning a specific amount of subs until they can finally buy a mech?
Sorry, Rush. Can you repeat that question?
Sure. Will the new battle arena or game modes be free to non-mech owners too? Do you plan to limit them on earning a specific amount of subs until they can finally buy a mech?
So there will be mechanisms to essentially onboard people into subs. I can't speak too much on this because it'll be an evolving thing. But obviously, we don't want to keep people out of the game. The more people we bring into the game, the better everyone does. So, yeah, there will be mechanisms.
Awesome. Bobby Rob is asking, I won a key card from one of the past AMAs, but I don't think I received it. Well, Bobby Rob, we'll take a look at that one for you.
Yeah, just put in a support ticket.
Yeah, me too, to be honest.
I think we're going to get a lot of Me Too's now.
Support requests, everyone.
Okay, Steve is already on it, so thank you, Steve. What's inside the crate? Is it a predetermined at purchase, or is it decided when you open it?
Oh, Schrodinger's grave.
Yeah, that's a technically it's already assigned. So there is a mech sitting in a crate, and if you were able to walk around your hangar, in one of your mech silos would actually be a crate, and if you could no clip through the walls of that crate, you would see your mech.
So if we're really clever coders, we could probably come up with some sort of X-ray goggles or something to see through the crate.
Yeah,
Or
you probably could. Yeah.
Is the information on the blockchain already? Because
No. So yeah, you won't be able to grok it from the blockchain.
Awesome. Okay,
all right, well,
so
we'll get cracking on your system then.
Sirius has got another question here. Is there plans to have any more personalization for the players?
Yeah, there's a lot. It's part of our onboarding upgrades is a more fully fleshed out profile system and character development system. So players can look forward to that, and there'll be the first stages of that will be coming out with Nexus.
Awesome. Okay, guys, make sure that you're putting in your questions in the live AMA chat if you're not able to speak. Otherwise, put your hand up. Fox Saber is asking, last AMA I asked about the possibility of Supremacy participating in a GameStop marketplace. Do you have any new info to share? Do you think it's a possibility, and will Supremacy be joining GME on the moon?
It is, like I said last time, it is something we're looking into. We will have to support the immutable X L1 to get on there. Which is not a technical problem, but it does mean a bit of development work. I think we're definitely seriously considering it, and supporting Immutable X was something we always planned to do. So let's kind of give a tentative. Yeah, you'll probably see us on GameStop NFT.
Nice.
The GME stuff's on. I think they were using Loopring underneath. So anything can be supported. It all depends on how the partnership kind of plays out. We're talking to Immutable at the moment because they have a great established marketplace. GME on the moon is something we'd always love to join them on. But yeah, the GameStop stuff is something we can't really talk about right now.
Awesome. Thank you.
Ice Pickle again with a question if you're up for it.
Go for it.
Cool. So have you considered bringing the players in for governance in any way? It's kind of a big aspect of Web3 is allowing the community to participate in governance, and it can scale all the way from things like simply having players give their opinions on upcoming changes, all the way up to things like direct votes on changes to be implemented.
It's always been in our roadmap, just not in the early phases. Supremacy may may in the future become a DAO and be governed by the community. So yeah, it's absolutely something we consider. Right now, we have the actual feedback system. So there's the Discord channel feedback, but we also have a direct place where players can make suggestions and vote on them. I think it's roadmap.supremacy.game. I think a lot of players aren't aware of it, but it does exist. I think we just need to bring more attention to it.
Awesome. Okay, so if you want to speak, pop your hand up. And we're just looking to see if we've got any more questions in the chat. So yeah, pop them into the live AMA chat if you've got one. Steve has just posted up a Supremacy citizen survey. So if you haven't filled that one out already, it would be awesome if you could. And it's just our way of sorry, Marty.
Is there a deadline on that, or like have to be done now, or when is that?
I don't believe there is a deadline as of yet. It's about 5-minute survey. You probably finish it a little bit quicker than that.
Okay.
But I don't think there's a timeline, a deadline at the moment for that. No.
Oh.
But let's say there is a deadline, and let's set it for by the end of the week.
End of the week. Okay, end of the week, guys.
Question on the first question. What if people are like belong to more than one faction? So I've seen
I
quite a
guess
few.
just go with your favorite.
Got it. Not that I have spies in other factions.
No, of course not. Of course not.
Hey, Tatan's asking, when will the PvE game mode be implemented?
I don't have any hard dates on that one. We're gonna try and bring PvE functions into the battle arena, but it'll be post Nexus, so nothing within the next month.
Clown is asking, is the Genesis 2.0 in-game event affected by this battle arena overhaul in terms of timeline?
It shouldn't be. Obviously, whenever we have to do development work that we didn't anticipate, there's obviously a resource cost to this. But I'm hopeful it won't affect both Nexus and Genesis 2.0 too much. I guess if I'm right and we can get Battle Arena up as quickly as possible, then there was not much of a cost. And we're trying to keep that cost to development resources down as low as we can, so that we can focus on future versions rather than renovating the Battle Arena. So yeah, the short answer is no. I don't think it will.
Thank you. Yeah, we're just waiting for a few more people to put some questions in. I know they are coming. So yeah. Okay. What's the coolest stuff you can share with us that we haven't already talked about to get us pumped while we wait for Crate Day and the Battle Arena to open? So I think Fox Saber here is asking for some cheeky leaks.
I think we've dropped enough leaks for now, but there is something unexpected coming within the next day. So I'm not going to leak it now. I would rather show than tell.
Ooh, okay. So everybody get pumped. There's something coming. Um, okay. So Vernon is asking any cool skins we can expect for mechs and weapons.
Yeah, there's lots. Nexus has some amazing skins. Ones that are actually dynamic. So we actually had custom shaders. We designed custom shaders for some of the rarer skins, and yeah, they're amazing. I can't wait to properly show them off.
Everyone's been hard at work, and those skins look incredible.
Yeah, the art team have been very busy, and we've definitely burnt them out. In fact, I think, in all seriousness, I think our entire art and engineering team deserve a bit of a break. I don't want to give them one, but they deserve one.
Yeah. So, yeah, they'll be hearing this right now, and you just gave them a little bit of hope, and then shut that right back down again.
I like to manage expectations.
That's fair. Okay. Keep your questions coming, guys. Been here for an hour and a half already, so I think we've still got some time, Alex.
Yeah, just like last time, we'll go until there's no more interesting questions, which seems like we're tapering out, which is a surprise because we were inundated with questions last night, obviously. And
There's 3 people typing.
yeah, bring it on. And this really is an ask me anything, and I will answer everything. I fully anticipate my answer not being exactly what you want to hear, or not enough of what you want to hear, but I will always attempt to answer everything.
Would you kill a young Hitler?
I would kidnap a young Hitler.
You kidnap him?
Yeah, I'd raise him right.
There you go.
Maybe
This reminds me of this plotline of Red Alert now.
I reckon maybe I'd bring him into the future and leave him in a kibbutz.
Assuming that were an option.
Hey, so Titan's put a question in here for us. How do you plan on marketing the game? And if the game explodes like famous NFT games, how are you going to handle massive amounts of players?
What a great problem to have. The platform is engineered to handle massive amounts of players, so we're not too worried about that. Obviously, when you actually get to battle tests, sometimes it exposes slight flaws you didn't know were there, and so but we're ready for that challenge. How do we plan on marketing? Well, when we go to a more open onboarding pathway for Web 2 players and for traditional players, like Steam players and console players, we're gonna market it the traditional way, which will be exciting, and it'll be good to actually more easily reach mainstream audiences.
Right, thank you. Big love heart there from Titan. Okay,
Since you're
sorry.
asking-
Go.
Oh yeah, no. Since you're asking for tough questions, something a little bit introspective, maybe. As you look back on the journey so far, how are your spirits, and what do you consider to be victories or lessons to be learned?
That's a tough one. I mean, obviously, yeah. One of the interesting things that we've kind of learned over this entire experience is, maybe we would have done better in the early stages if we hadn't actually released the battle arena as quickly as we did, and that's something that a lot of VCs like to remind us. That we should have gone down the Star Atlas route, and just created little side games that keep people busy with their NFTs, and then also have an inflationary token, so you don't have to worry about the actual economics. And sometimes I think that could have been that probably would have been a much easier pathway for us to take. In fact, I know it would have been a much easier pathway to take.
You wouldn't have had any developers, man.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But at the same time, it wouldn't have been as rewarding. So I'm kind of glad we didn't go down that track. I do wish we'd just been a bit slower. It's not really in our DNA to be slow, but I think we could have taken a breath every time we released something into the battle arena, and just kind of let it play out for a while. Moving slower may have let us kind of marinate on things a lot longer. At the same time, again, moving slow is not in our DNA. We like to react quickly, and we like to keep up a fairly fast development pace, and a lot of that is about actually shipping. So if we were doing the Star Atlas and we were just working very slowly in the background and releasing a video every month, things would be a lot more chill, but it would also be a lot less rewarding.
Yeah, my own personal feedback on that is it's pretty frustrating and annoying from my perspective on those other projects where you're holding something that could possibly may turn into something at some point in the future, and having something tangible to work with in the near term, in the now, I think is great. And my opinion is that maybe some of the tough lessons or hardships maybe that you might be going through now is maybe just bringing them forward, so that you're dealing with balance issues or game design ideas early. And some people might argue that makes us paying beta testers or something, but I for one am happy with the way that you guys are doing it. Sorry to hear that it's been tough.
It's been tough, but it's been fun. So don't take my words as a complaint. They're definitely not. I think you're right. We learned a lot about balance, and it's one of the reasons why Morgan is now on the team, is because of these lessons we've had to learn. And if we were just building in the background and not actually putting stuff out there, we'd probably think that the engineering team could handle balance and design, and that would have been a mistake.
I would certainly not be here had you taken the Star Atlas route.
Yeah, exactly. So there would have been a lot of cons. We probably would have sold a lot more tokens.
We'd have made a lot more money, that's for sure.
Yeah, we would have made a lot more money. But
we'd have a lot less overhead. But honestly, there's I have my doubts that those type of projects are ever going to go anywhere beyond hype, and feel quite confident that you guys are going to make it because of this attitude, and I hope that those regrets are not too deep, and that very quickly you'll understand that the path you're taking is correct.
They're definitely not regrets. It's something you muse on. You think the amount of kind of trial by fire that we've gone through and I've put our team through is definitely has real costs. And so you think, well, if we'd taken the path of least resistance, where would we be? But it definitely wouldn't have been as fun, and we definitely wouldn't have learned as much. So it's not a regret, but you see those other projects and they don't attract the same kind of criticism from their community, because I think it's a lot harder to criticize something that's not actually putting itself out there.
But they also don't always make it, Alex. You should know that there are plenty who tried that route and just flopped. So I think that there's also, some that get either really lucky or they're just very skilled at bluffing. But there's no guarantee that had you gone that route, you would have been successful also.
Yeah, that's a great point. That is a great point. And perhaps it's the difference between engineering and marketing.
There's probably a reason why a lot of engineers are here. I was going to ask, I haven't seen Morgan's name before. Have you discussed his onboarding and his role to the community yet? Have I missed that?
Yeah, so Morgan introduced themselves to the community, I think end of last week. Is that right, Morgan?
Something like that.
Yeah, there was an announcement in Discord. I think we'll put out a blog post. I think we should probably do a blog post kind of doing a soft intro for quite a lot of the team members. It's probably something we've neglected. So I will get someone onto that, and we'll do a bit of a write up about some of the key players of Supremacy. And by players, I mean devs.
So I'm guessing Morgan is in game design. I'm sorry that I missed that.
Yeah, game design and narrative design, which is even more important.
Awesome.
Great. Thank you. So we'll get to some of the questions here in the AMA chat. Foxsaber's asking, can you share any details on some of the technological improvements under the hood that make the battle arena tick that doesn't really get a lot of attention?
Yeah, that's a good one. We actually redesigned the communication system underneath the battle arena. That's made it a lot more performant and solved a lot of those latency issues that players were having. We've been meaning to write up a blog post on this. It'd be like pretty, for a few people at least, it'll be an interesting topic. It's just about finding the time. So yeah, we'll to shine a light on our amazing engineers, I'll make sure that we do put out some content on some of the tech under the hood, because it's definitely interesting, and there's a lot going on there that you don't see on the surface level.
Yeah, on outside of the communication, it's probably worth bringing up the AI as well. In one of the change logs, there's just a single line saying overhauled the entire AI system. It was a single line, but the actual work was several weeks of work. And basically, what happened was we pulled out the Unreal Engine artificial intelligence and replaced it with our own TypeScript/JavaScript system. It means that players can soon write their own AIs. The process of writing an AI is quite complex, but we have some examples written up, and over time we'll start allowing the ability to create custom pilots as well. And I'll be releasing some snippets of the public interface to write AIs, so that programmers in the community can start having a look.
Can't wait.
Yeah, that's gonna be really cool.
I'm gonna have to learn how to program AIs.
Yeah, it's at first you think it's if this thing happens, move here. Unfortunately, it's not the case. It's all these finite state machines and behavior trees. It's actually part of what I was really excited for in Supremacy, which was a player-driven economy driven purely by demand, and in this case, demand for programmers that can write AIs for you.
I don't know anybody who scripts AIs. As far as I know a lot of people.
Yeah, luckily there's a marketplace now, so you know, put some stuff on the
There it is.
marketplace and contracts.
I've run across one or two people who are actively practicing.
Yeah, it's quite a specialist skill, which is why it's going to be an interesting one where you know, in the marketplace for Supremacy, it's a supply and demand of talent when this kind of stuff comes out. It starts creating real demand for subs because the contracts will be through subs as well.
I wonder what I mean the contracts might stack up against, like, them doing like a 9 to 5 job with that skill. If it'd
Yeah,
be
that was kind of our vision to, you know, people can actually do work through the system uh, based on demand for their talents and services. So yeah, I guess it depends, and we'll see what happens. It's pretty experimental and cutting edge, but this is probably the thing I'm most excited about because it everyone talks, you know, a lot of people get into programming hoping to do remote work and get paid for it, but that gap is pretty tough. If we can tie it into a metaverse game, suddenly it's a lot more accessible.
It's much more
Yeah.
scalable too. You can sell pilot one by one.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like making a product, right? You create a product that you can sell multiple times, scale up your efforts. You can create a cowardly AI that does nothing but run away, you know, for specific factions or you know, different types of behaviors as well. So you can introduce things like you know, open source AIs where people would just fork off your work, and there's a whole new world coming out with this kind of stuff, which is why I felt that single line in the changelog was doing it a disservice a bit.
Yeah, that's true. It did.
Well, at least you
And
didn't spend a lot of time formulating the changelog.
yeah, it's
Spend enough time doing the work. You don't need to spend more time telling you how you did the work.
it's probably the least appreciated part of putting out changes is actually writing them into a list. And but John's right. The amount of work and effort that went into overhauling this AI system was immense. And our two engineers who put the most work into that, and one specifically, he did an amazing job, and actually completed the work a lot quicker than I think John and I anticipated. And so to actually be able to get that out on that update was a big deal. And so yeah, we probably should have put a bit more fanfare there, but we were kind of focused on other things. So
Yeah,
And
hearing about
it's
it.
it's hard to kind of express because before the AI overhaul, the AIs were working, and then after the AI overhaul, they acted pretty much the same. So it's kind of kind of hard to really make the effort obvious.
they were slightly more aggressive, but Met Commander made them a bit more cowardly. So kind of balanced out.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so should we get to some of the questions in the AMA chat here?
Yeah, hit us, Raj.
Cool. So Ruben's house is asking, how do you view whale fleets? Are these helpful to the game, or can they pose problems through somewhat dominating newer or smaller players? Does this not pose any issue as it is mostly fair and skill based?
So there'll definitely be more and more move to skill-based gameplay. So yeah, it shouldn't. Now there may definitely be advantages from an economic sense for whale fleets. Obviously, I mean that's pretty much how economies work. You know, if you own all the capital, you have an advantage, and it'll be up to us to design systems like tiering and like gameplay aimed at players with big fleets and gameplay aimed at those without giant fleets. So there'll obviously be advantages, and sometimes there'll be disadvantages to having a giant fleet.
The way I see it is if you've got it's a game of probabilities and numbers, right? If you can make X amount with one mech over the course of a month, then you just make X times 5 if you've got 5 mechs.
Yeah, that's right. Although there will be a disadvantage for giant whales who don't kind of share their mechs out to syndicates and things like that, because especially even now with Mech Commander, and when we go into like more intense piloting required or commanding, it's going to be harder to run a whole train, and it'll have a cognitive cost running a giant fleet at a time, and people
It already
giant,
does. In a very
yeah.
real way, I felt if I'm, queuing up 30, 40 mechs in a row, my teammates they start to go, come on, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's definitely already inherent disadvantages, and hopefully that will incentivize mech owners to share their assets amongst more players, especially new players who may not be able to afford to get a decent amount of mechs.
Awesome. Okay, so another question here from Juice Crazy. Will we get expanded battle history stats in the future besides win percentage, kills, survival percentages, and deaths? Total battles would be nice. And nemesis stats.
Yeah, definitely. Leaderboards are coming in Nexus. It's going to be a lot more prevalent.
Awesome. Okay, so we've got a question here from Morgan. Can you share if you are taking any inspiration from other games to design Supremacy?
Yeah, frankly, it's pretty hard to be a game designer and not draw inspiration from games you've played, games you've liked, or just games you know about. Like a lot of the industry is so built on previous history and experiences, and things that worked, things that didn't, what it was that got you into like wanting to be in the industry in the first place. That it's pretty hard for really anyone to say no. As for which ones, yeah, like I can definitely list a few. So I don't know how familiar folks are with the BattleTech franchise. That's BattleTech and the Mech Warrior games. So obviously that's it's a franchise I'm personally extremely fond of to begin with, but also both the Mech Warrior series and the recent Harebrained Schemes 2018 BattleTech, which was a turn-based tactics game, has been like something that's. I've been replaying it like the past month or so since I started at Ninja, because it is just a really good game and really hones down on a lot of the subtleties in making a sort of top-down camera, or sort of the isometric style mech game. There's a lot of small elements that people might not think about just when looking at a game from a layman's point of view, from a player's point of view, that if they weren't there, it wouldn't feel right. Things from like just what the sound of a mech is as it moves around. Things about, say, how the weight of them turning can really influence not only the look and feel of them, but also how quickly they're able to change targets, how quickly they're able to move around. But then also you just, in terms of balance, how to design different weapons, how to balance weapons by different manufacturers or just different factions against each other, and what to expect from different types of weaponry and different types of mechs. All that sort of thing is, yeah, like really prevalent in the long-running BattleTech franchise, and it's definitely something that I think I wouldn't be thinking of as actively or as intelligently if I didn't have experience with those games. And then, of course, with some of the other elements, both like big and small. There's plenty of other games I've been thinking of when it comes to like monetization and the actual economic aspects of a game, especially one where we're wanting it to have accessibility to both players who just want to play for free to build up our player base and those who really want to go hard on the economic side of it. There's lots of games who have the free-to-play systems that are actually really reasonably put together and well managed and engaging. And yeah, there's been a lot of suggestions and some changes that have like come from me drawing on existing knowledge and experience in the industry for sure. Like stuff like Apex Legends and Fortnite and other battle royale games that have, a very strong free-to-play style economic system are sort of some good examples. And I know for absolute certainty as we move into working on both like the sort of, real-time, live real-time RTS and the FPS, there's several other games I'll draw a lot of thoughts from with those as well. So yeah, that's a few examples, and how important it is to just kind of draw on one's own experience. And I think knowing where to learn from others and listen to what others and like previous projects have done and what their games have to say is a really vital skill for a good game designer.
Awesome. Thank you, Morgan. So a couple more questions here. Vernon is asking, are there plans to allow players to upload personal images as skins for mechs and weapons?
Nothing soon. I kind of don't want to see any dicks on mechs just
Huge
yet.
can of worms, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so much involved in doing that just from a dev, like a tech perspective as well. And then, yeah, like all the management of stuff, it gets pretty messy pretty quick.
Yeah, there is there'll be some interesting like decals and stuff with the syndicate system eventually, things like that. But just allowing people to kind of paste an image on the side of their mech, not for a while.
Okay, awesome. And are there any plans for adding voice chat in the future?
Yeah, big plans. Voice chat is definitely coming, and it's just a matter of time. I would like to get it in for Nexus. If it's not in by Nexus, it'll be in Nexus 1.2.
Okay, cool. Are nukes going to change? Currently, it's more red button commander than mech commander.
Yeah, I'll let Morgan take this one.
Sort of. So some of the changes that we're going to be making to the battle arena over the next couple of weeks before we bring it back up are to adjust how abilities are obtained and used, so to speak. As Alex said in like the announcements and stuff that we're planning on changing the relationship between ability usage in arenas and subs. And that obviously involves changing the frequency and availability of them. So yeah, nukes to some degree should probably be much more of a spectacular kind of occurrence. So much more game ending rather than something that's going to show up a lot. And how to put this? Like, so when you have a really powerful ability that does a lot of damage over a large area and it shows up too often, then yeah, it ends up defining the way that the battle plays out far more than any other factor might. And you end up with circumstances where it's like, why bother trying to deploy these other abilities when I can just wait another few minutes and then just drop a mech and finish the match, right? So we need to find a compromise between the two directions where mechs are really fun. Sorry, not mechs. Well, mechs are. Nukes are really fun and very cool, but when they show up too often, they both indicate an issue with how long and how interesting the base fundamental gameplay of the battle arena is to resolve. But also maybe that just games are going too long, or that other abilities aren't substantial enough to be interesting compared to nukes. So what I'm hoping is that you'll see far fewer nukes, but they'll be still like a really interesting and spectacular to see, and instead we'll be adding other new features over time that will sort of take up their place in the area, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think we saw with the latest update that people would essentially not get any other ability other than nukes, and that was kind of like a wake up call that that games were being resolved with nukes almost 100% of the time, and that's boring. And the worst thing that Supremacy could ever be outside of everything else is boring. I'd rather have game breaking bugs than be boring.
Awesome. Are there any plans on adding some kind of abilities or upgrades that would change the values of the weapons that we attach to our mechs? For example, damage increases or increase spread and stuff like that.
I mean, stat boost abilities and things like that's definitely something we're playing with. How that ends up looking when it's actually brought out into the game, I'm not sure. That's a long way away. There's going to be a lot more testing with these kind of things and ensuring balance. So, we won't introduce anything without giving it a real run for its money.
All right, thank you. If you want to speak, guys, pop your hand up, or pop your questions into the AMA chat. We are approaching 2 hours now, so keep your questions coming if you've got them. I don't think anybody is typing at the moment here, Alex.
All right. Well, we got serious typing.
Serious
Here we go.
Okay.
While they type, I could ask another one.
Yeah, hit us.
Sure. Back to the RTS thing again. How are you kind of imagining the look and feel of the gameplay of that? Say, for instance, if you have some land and you need to defend it with some mechs, are you imagining kind of like a Risk board game style thing where you're positioning soldiers in a space, or something that might play in a 3D game engine? I guess the question is, how tactile is it versus informational?
So the way you structure your base will be, will be more kind of in a more 2D UI, likely, at least in initial versions. The actual battle side of it will be more 3D. John and I are big fans of Supreme Commander and Total Annihilation, so there'll definitely be some inspiration drawn from there, and obviously Morgan has a lot of inspiration from BattleTech, especially the recent turn-based BattleTech game, so there'll be some inspiration there too. It's I think for me, I'll definitely bring a lot of a lot of like my Total Annihilation inspiration, because I absolutely love Total Annihilation. So as for the kind of the way your base exists in the universe, that will be both 2D and 3D.
So we should expect to see a Big Bertha somewhere in there.
Oh hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Awesome.
Maybe not the Vulcan though. I always thought the Vulcan was a bit OP.
I mean, not really. The Vulcan took like an hour to build, so I mean, the
True,
Vulcan equivalent
true.
in Supremacy can take 5 years to build.
You also needed like 100 nuclear power plants to power the damn thing.
I love that idea of having kind of like these what would you call them, like wonders of the world projects that kind of, who knows if you'll ever be able to complete them, but you could have people working on these massive projects for years.
Yeah, I see some parallels to like Civilization. If you've ever played that, you basically build
Right,
the world.
exactly.
Yeah.
And it makes you a target. You know, everyone knows you're doing it and they come for you.
Yeah, and they give you buffs and stuff. And like someone asked earlier in this AMA, staking your mechs in your territories would be like fortifying your units in Civ as well. So things like that. So I guess it's not really an RTS. The real time part can also be, there's a lot of turn-based stuff you have to do as well. It's still under design, most of it. But what the idea of it is to tie all the land, the minerals, the mining, the economy stuff back into battle arenas as well. And then you start being able to tie together other things. So you basically create a spatial world instead of this kind of instanced battle.
It's embodied.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm a huge strategy fan, so I play a lot of strategy games. They've kind of died out lately, but just knowing that, I don't know, moving a unit from one side of the continent to another will take a few weeks, and you have to plan for that. That kind of stuff excites me. So, if anything, the inspirations. I remember in Supreme Commander, actually, there was a map that was 80 square kilometers, and it took about half an hour, 45 minutes to get your carrier across to the other side of the map. Your planes would run out of fuel; they would never make it. So you have to like build supply chains along the way, all that kind of stuff. I love, so I want to see that in Supremacy as well.
Yeah, so Morgan has their work cut out for them.
Yeah, and not everyone's into this kind of stuff. So like some people will like the battle arena, some people will like the shooter. I would totally be in the strategy side.
It's going to be a lot of fun though when there's a battle raging in your coming in your territory, coming to your base, and you put out a contract for a human pilot to help you turn the tide. And a skilled first person shooter pilot will be able to drop in and lend you a hand. That's the kind of emergent gameplay I can't wait to see.
Yeah, so this cool scenario would be you have some intelligence that mechs are coming over to your territory. You stake some mechs to get them ready for the battle. Mercenaries start popping in to assist. The programmers that we mentioned before start tweaking the AI so that they're more defensive. All this stuff suddenly ties together as soon as you have different factions moving across territories. You suddenly have to pull together different resources, different people, different talents to prepare for this thing that's coming up, and that's kind of the grand vision of what Supremacy is meant to be. Is an economy that's driven by battles across territories.
And I've always envisioned the battle arena kind of like the Destiny, where you've got the player lobby essentially, and like all the players kind of congregate there, and then they go off into their own experiences that are that they still share with other players. And that's how I've kind of always seen our battle arena. It's the center of the universe. It's where everyone can meet and and battle each other. You know, they're not limited by territories being reachable and things like that. It's a you know, and that's when I think the battle arena gets really exciting, because it's a way to tie in all the different interfaces into the Supremacy universe.
I'm really excited about the grand vision, and I think so many people are too. I think we kind of got a glimpse of that back with Dust 514, I think it was called, where they wanted to tie that first-person shooter into EVE Online, and I think your vision really is going to resonate with a lot of gamers.
Yeah, well, I think it's a vision a lot of gamers have had, and we're no different. And what we've realized is that it's something you can iteratively develop into. And Dust 514 is like really cool vision.
Yeah, and then, like Alex said, I have my work cut out for me because I'm here being the ever pragmatist, where so obviously like this vision of what we ultimately would like to get the game to become is fantastic
Huge.
and huge, but the thing about it being fantastic and huge is that that's a lot of work, a lot of time away. And the thing is that if we want players to be getting progressively more and more invested in the game and our world and just in, I guess, us and our work, we can't just like, because we are effectively a game that's in early access, we are going to be having to release stuff over time, and sometimes the best way to do that is in stages. So like I know some people were asking earlier about has the whole phase 3 stuff been pushed back for the FPS, and the answer is, like Alex said, we can work on the two things in tandem, but also to some degree working on the FPS stuff also ties into the RTS stuff, because there are ways that we would want to tie in all of these different ways to play the game together, right? And that building systems for one is also building systems for the other. And so as we are able to progress these different additions to the game, be they really small or really large, we're always going to be working towards those like sort of ultimate goals. Like the reality is that the roadmaps and plans have to be versatile, and to some degree, like roadmaps that are just like, here is a big huge thing and this is when it's going to come. When you start actually working on the design for that, it it gets broken down into much smaller pieces, and those pieces can get sort of put in a timeline where they merge two larger concepts together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've always wanted Dust to release a tech tree style roadmap.
Yeah.
And maybe that's something we can work on. Because if you see the roadmap like that, you get a better idea of everything that's actually involved in getting to not just the end, but the next step. And it's a lot more than I think people realize. And it's a lot of actual people's blood, sweat, and tears.
Yeah, exactly. So there are like a lot of ways that we can actually execute on the sort of. It's funny actually, saying RTS for me doesn't quite feel right for what it is that we're working on in a sense, because RTS to me is stuff like StarCraft or Age of Empires, etc., where they are relatively short games. This actually reminds me a lot more, and this is actually quite funny to me, but there's this old browser game that I used to play with some friends called Supremacy 1914.
Yeah.
Which was
which we were not it did not inspire us at all. And when we came up with the name, I must, like, to be completely honest, I'd never heard of it before, and we had already the name had already stuck. We could not change it.
Yeah, I mean, it happens.
Yeah. I mean, I did at some point consider changing our name to Supremacy 2149, but that seemed a bit on the nose.
That's a bit more on the nose. But yeah, so I don't know if you've played it, but yeah, it was like a World War One kind of simulator, but everything that happened played out over real time, whether you were there or not. So I would start building a factory in one of my cities, and it would take 2 days to build. I would start sending some troops to another city, and they would take 19 hours to get there. And when two opposing armies encountered each other, they would fight, and you would do like a simulated statistics RNG based kind of battle. So I sort of envision a similar overarching concept where we have this real world time grand strategy going on, but all of the discrete pieces are made and built by individual people, and then the way that these conflicts are resolved can be by various methods. Like you could just say, like, if I'm going to use like an example here. Do not quote me on this. This is so early in design and development that like anything could end up being the case. But I'm just going to use
This is
this
just hypothetical.
as an example. Yeah, purely hypothetical. So let's say that there's two ways to resolve a conflict, whether it be two opposing forces meeting each other en route, or if it's someone attacking someone else's base. So you could either resolve it by when it happens, you're both able to be online, or you have people who can be online. Insert hiring people here, and we basically have an actual kind of RTS slash first person shooter hybrid, like what we're hoping to do with Supremacy, where you actually just battle it out over the course of 20, 25, 30 minutes or whatever, where you have people controlling mechs from the pilot seat, or controlling mechs from the bird's eye perspective, deploying abilities, doing all that kind of stuff. Basically what the battle arena is now, but with the FPS added and a proper game client added. And that's could be one way of resolving it. Or you just have an AI battle happen. There's no direct human involvement at all, because maybe it's just you're both going to be asleep or at work and you can't do it. So you just turn on the AI for all of your units, and the battle just plays out like a battle would in Battle Arena at the moment, where there's no human involvement. It's just the mech AI and their equipment and that fighting it out. And then there's ways to mix the two. You could have one person, they're just defending themselves using their AI mechs that they've made themselves, or that they've bought off other people or whatever, and the people who are attacking have people piloting their mechs, etc. So there's lots of different ways to do this, and that's why it is important for us to have these direct gameplay systems set up before we get into this really big grand scale stuff, because without these smaller ways to execute on the interactions, the grand strategy won't work. Like it'll just be land without much use for it, and factories that make stuff that people don't need because they don't have a mech to put them on, because they're not actually getting an opportunity to pilot them in a way that they find fun. Like it's really important for us to realize that not only is this about economic simulation, but also just fun and engaging gameplay, because if at the bottom level we are making a game, and games need to be enjoyable and fun, otherwise you will have a hugely reduced player base, and that means that people who are more interested in the economic side won't have people to do stuff with. And I don't remember who it was that brought up EVE Online. Oh yeah, it was to do with the Dust 5.14 stuff. Like EVE Online is a fantastic example of this. I played EVE for a number of years, about a decade or so ago, and those memories live with me still because of how sort of expansive and
Immersive.
complex, and yeah, to an extent immersive. I mean, I was a diplomat for I was a diplomat for Goon Swarm for like a year and a half. Like, think of that. I was a diplomat in a space video game. That's something about that is just really bizarre to talk
Yeah.
about, but it's something
EVE
I
I
did.
Online.
love
And I had
that.
a lot of
That's the
fun with.
coolest. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's so cool to have such a world of such depth and intricacy that it's possible to have such emergent gameplay.
Yeah, and
I
a lot of
I
that
think
was, yeah. Sorry, go on, Alex.
no, I was just going to say the best thing about EVE Online getting there is that they didn't design systems for it. It just happened, and obviously they would then like back design, so they'd bring features in that supported gameplay that had kind of happened on its own, and that's amazing. And then I really look forward to the time we get there where we see emergent gameplay and we go, oh, we're gonna have to help this flourish. EVE Online is absolutely a massive source of inspiration for us.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, the way that EVE Online has their whole economic system in game set up is that, yeah, like, every stuff is consumed because of fighting, and fighting happens fundamentally because people find it fun. And people might find it fun because they enjoy the actual, fights themselves, be they small gang roams where you go off into enemy territory and mess with all of their people there and then end up, fighting a bunch of them getting together to fend you off. It might be big fleet battles. It might be big super fleet battles with like actual capital ships. It might be Black Ops stuff. I did a lot of Black Ops stuff, just going around in a stealth ship with a small group of people, choosing our targets very carefully. Like, there's all sorts of stuff that EVE Online allows players to do just by virtue of it being this, persistent, connected world that is, how do I put this? Like, to a certain degree, the way in which players are able to interact is very simple. It's not like mega complex in how it's put together. You have open spaces and you have the ship combat mechanics, and that's mostly about it. But the reasons and the ways in which players end up using that very open-ended design space is what really makes it shine, and that's the sort of thing that I'd really want us to be looking at. But going back to like the economic stuff, yeah, like we need people who just enjoy playing the game because they enjoy playing the game. They enjoy, the combat part of it, or maybe they enjoy like just the raw economic part of it. We need those people for the whole system to function. So we need to make sure that like we just have the gameplay that is fun and enjoyable from the ground up in order for us to do this grand, scale thing like EVE Online did. Like, I guarantee you, if EVE Online was like came out and it was just about mining and making stuff and selling it to other people, it just would not have worked because there was no
No.
reason to do any of that.
That would be
And
boring.
yeah, exactly. Like, when someone
mean-
tells you about spaceships, you think about stuff with laser cannons on them, not necessarily freighters straight away.
There are players who love that stuff, the spreadsheet players, but they're not a big enough niche to make a game as profitable and sustainable as EVE Online. They're definitely a massive part of the EVE Online community, and I would say they probably run all of the corporations. But if it was just them, it would be a very boring game.
Exactly. Yeah, it's all intrinsically connected. So we need to make sure that we're able to do both. And the reality is that it is much more straightforward to make the direct gameplay elements first, then the economic gameplay elements first, because one is able to exist without the other, but for the bigger scheme, they both need to exist. So if
Yeah.
we can do, if we can get the FPS working, if we can get the battle arena better, and then if we're able to merge the two of them together, we're going to be set up for applying gameplay to whatever it is that we want to do next. We can just
very well said.
use those systems over and over again. We can execute them in different ways. We can give different incentives for them to happen. We can, start, just basically we have all this fuel for why it is that people would want to do the grand strategy and the economic stuff in the first place. What it is that you're actually going to get, you'll actually have a market for it. So yeah, we have to work on that, and that's why it's kind of important for us to just take these couple of weeks to figure out exactly what it is that we want the battle arena to be, not only in the short term but also in the long term. And we're really wanting to show to players that we have a view not only for the big blue sky long-term stuff, but also for the short-term fundamentals that we need for this game to work. And while we know it's really sudden and disappointing and troubling for some players, and that people are going to miss the battle arena for the next week or two or however long it takes. We also hope that players will trust us enough enough for a couple of weeks to know that we are doing this because we really need to figure out exactly what's the game is going to be like, and we just couldn't really do that while it was still running in the condition that it was.
That's right.
Um,
And we
Yeah.
had a lot of conversations about what if we did this, what if we tweaked this, what if we changed this, and it just became obvious that we were chasing our tail, and that was just going to spiral. That would just spiral and get worse and worse. And sometimes you just have to rip the band-aid off. And I realized straight away that there would absolutely be players who would hate me for the rest of their lives. And some of the DMs that I've received, yeah, no death threats, thankfully, but pretty close. So I fully realize the magnitude of our decision and how sudden it seemed. And some people said we should have given 24 hours, but from my perspective, the current state of the battle arena was such that leaving it online for any longer than we had to would actually be negligence. So I apologize if I think some people accuse us of a rug pull, and I guess we have pulled the rug out of the battle arena, but now we're going to iron it and put it back down. So don't, as Morgan said, just please trust us again, and we'll do our very best and let you down. Raj, we've got Yumiyu with a good question. That was asked.
Okay, so some of the behavior that you mentioned as the cause of shutting down the BA, like bullying, value extraction, and tedious gameplay, meaning in this case doing shady and boring stuff because it's simply the most profitable, are in my opinion inherent to capitalism, and which are likely to be more prevalent in a simulation as there aren't as many mitigating factors and institutions due to anonymity, a lack of law enforcement and accountability, and different sense of urgency, as you can walk away from supremacy without much consequence, but you can't just walk away from a job or retreat out of a capitalist society. If you find these effects undesirable, how do you propose to deal with them when the battle arena comes back?
So that's a great question. I love this question, and it reminds me of a quote from Discord from way back when we first launched the battle arena, and someone actually said, "Is Alex trying to teach us capitalism?" Which I thought was really funny. I mean, I don't disagree with with some of the things said here, and but we are the institution, and while the anonymity is, it can create situations where people are a bit more likely to bully or do tedious gameplay. It's up to us to create mechanisms that disincentivize that. We are the ones who create the incentives, especially in the battle arena. Sorry, I'm carrying a flu. So one of the things I think that will make a big difference.
Alex, you good?
Yeah, he's got a coughing fit.
Oh,
Alright, I'm
okay.
assuming. I'll stack onto his point while he survives.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all about game theory, and it's all about incentivizing people to do the right thing. And in this case, the right thing is not to bully others, is not to extract value from the system. And there's an interesting blog post I read recently on ETH Finance about how actually Morgan read this one as well. It's about how you coerce people to do something better for the whole, and that's part of that's part of why we brought Morgan on, is to design these kind of systems as well, to make sure that people are incentivized to do the right thing, and it's one of those cascading effects where if if the game is unbalanced slightly in the wrong direction, everyone just pile on to the other faction, or they'll basically force cooldowns so that they can optimize their earnings. This is something that we're aware of, and it's again capitalism. But on a if you zoom out a bit and look at the industry of Web3 and on all the cool DAO governance stuff that Ethereum's bringing in, codifying systems that make all the actors work together. It's possible. It's difficult, but it's possible, and that's kind of what we're working towards now. Yeah, and then it'll still be a capitalist system. It just you happen to profit by doing the right thing this time.
Yeah, thanks, John. Just had a horrible coughing fit. Not COVID. Way worse. Got the flu. So yeah, like John said, one of the things that will help with a lot of this behavior is the syndicate system, where people will actually work together. And you know what? In capitalist societies, that's where people can shine. We see startups and collectives and things like that. They rally against the standard behavior, and the syndicate system will absolutely do that.
I can speak a little bit to some of this as well from a design perspective. So I am self-professed not a capitalist, which is kind of funny working with people who self-profess very much are. But I think it is valuable to have the sort of differing perspectives on this stuff. But to me, what's really important is, like Alex was saying, the idea of cooperation and a sense of camaraderie. And I think there's a lot of potential for that in just sort of how we build the community as we expand the player base by adding the new onboarding stuff and the more free to play entry path for people to try out the game, and the better a community is, the stronger it becomes, and the better people who join the community will be. When you have there are I can point to studies about this for community management, but generally speaking, the more toxic a community of a game is, the more likely that game is to attract additional toxic people, and vice versa, because they just the environment becomes one that enhances the experiences or gains or whatever it is that those people are after. So if we were to use some of the problems with Battle Arena as an example, which is where we were ultimately looking at a situation where very few people from two factions were putting their mechs in, and lots of people in one faction were putting their mechs in, and it was just a way to get, easy, effectively free wins, and get subs from that. And when you have a game that is in that state, you're going to encourage people who are inclined towards that behavior to do it. And then because they're doing it, it makes the situation worse, which then further encourages more people who are inclined to, do that behavior to get on the bandwagon and join as well. And so that's sort of what we mean when we're talking about the game being in a bit of a death spiral, and why we just kind of had to stop before it got any worse. Like, even another 24 hours could have resulted in, more irreversible damage to not only the game but also the community and the studio and just all of us. So it is difficult to talk about how you encourage players to work together and players to work in a way that is not inherently solo selfish, as I call it. So, like, solo selfish behavior is when it's only ever about you, the individual, and nothing else. And, like, every action that you make is ultimately directly about enhancing you. I can use EVE Online as a really good example for, like, a way to not be solely selfish, which is, just the corporation and alliances systems in EVE Online, where if I am, like, an economic person, like a person who specializes in that in EVE Online because it's what I enjoy doing. I love my spreadsheets. I like mining. I like the thrill of getting in a big freighter and taking, like, 6 trillion ISK worth of stuff across dangerous space. Like, I get, the huge rush from doing that. I know people who really did, but they couldn't do that on their own. And if they tried to do it on their own, they would never be able to, and so they needed the support of others. But if they got the support of others in a way that was still all about them and their gains, then they wouldn't get the support of others for very long, if at all, in the first place. And so it encouraged this sort of collectivist cooperation between multiple people, so that you're helping each other achieve your goals, and along the way you become friends and your co-workers or partners in some business enterprises within the game, or along the way you realize that if you actually decide to split the profits from taking that freighter across space with some people that you've started working with because they're going to protect you along the way, that's better for not only you but also everyone. And now you've made a connection that allows you to do this consistently. You're able to do it in a way that's reliable. And while all of this, the goal here is ultimately about all of you getting something out of it, be it the ISK or just the enjoyment, it's no longer solo selfish, because it's a group of people working together who are getting enjoyment not only from what they personally are getting, but also because of the stuff that everyone else is getting out of it. I don't quite know if I'm getting my point across here, but I hope I am. Yeah, so what we really want to try and encourage are factions and then syndicates within the factions who just want to work together and cooperate, and find out that the best ways to do that are not trying to circumvent the system or to sabotage by playing other factions at the same time as their own, or to just extract from like a zero-sum system, or who only view the game as a way to make money first and not enjoyment as well. we either don't want those people, or we want to encourage them to change their views and to group together with players who will be able to work with them in a way that enables everyone to get what it is that they're after. And that in turn means that if we have, all three factions who are doing that kind of thing, we'll have an overall game community that's much healthier. Now, that's all, like a mixture of philosophy and psychology and sociology, right? But what about the actual practical, implementation ways of doing that? So I remember saying to Alex and Reese in a meeting a few weeks ago that I refuse to design around, people doing sabotage, right? Because it kneecaps, takes me off at the knees. There's so many really great fun concepts that I can't do because I'm constantly having to think, oh, what if somebody does, sabotage on this? I can't do any, really risk reward heavy style mechanics because, what if somebody, does sabotage? So, I mean, that's always going to be present. That's something we're just going to have to deal with for as long as there is the possibility for people to easily make multiple accounts. So we need to either cut down on that ability. We either need to find, an actual way to kind of restrict people to just the one account with us and being in the one faction, or we need to restrict people's ability to act on two accounts at the same time, or we just need to restrict the ability for people to be able to do these kinds of negative behavior repeatedly without repercussions. And that sort of comes down to like moderation, and there's sort of like three ways to do that sort of thing. So there's the community one, which is the sort of stuff I've been talking about already. There's the code-based systems, so things that can automatically detect bots and get rid of them, things that don't work for bots in the first place, or things that just basically like design decisions and systems that just don't function for people trying to do more than one account really hardcore and using different accounts to sabotage their allies to help their other account. And then the final one is reactive, just active moderation, which is, if we see an account that's clearly a bot that's managed to slip through our nets, we ban it. If we see someone who's repeatedly sabotaging, we give them a warning and then escalate if they keep doing it, that kind of thing. So yeah, we have multiple tools to do that. By far the two best ones in terms of like dev time are the community one and the moderation one, but there will become times where the code-based solutions just end up being the most efficient for everyone, because if botting isn't an option at all, then that removes the need for like the community and the moderators to worry about that, just to use that as an example. So that's like it's sort of like half up to me to figure out what potential solutions are, and then half up to the dev team to figure out how we can actually do those solutions in tandem with me. And I mean, sometimes the ratio will change a bit, but it's the sort of thing we have to figure out. So I guess to bring this back to Umu's question, I don't think that doing shady and boring stuff, because it's simply the most profitable, is inherent to games like this. I don't think it has to be, and I think there are ways that we can build this game and the community to ensure that it isn't. So we'll just have to like figure out how to bridge the gap between people who are here to play, people here to be who are here to be investors or to make money in some way, and ensure that both ways are valid and not conflicting. And that's going to be hard, but I certainly think we will rise to the challenge, myself included. So Yeah, I think that's really about all I can say in terms of like specifics, but it's definitely something that weighs on my mind a lot and something that we'll be figuring out. But I do definitely want to absolutely say that it's on our mind, and we want to ensure that the game, as it like at every stage possible, it might not be for a little while, but at every stage that we can, we want to make sure that every way of interacting with our game and with our systems are viable for players who want to do it for different reasons.
Well
Sorry,
said. No, that's perfect.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Morgan.
Yeah, that's it's always going to be a challenge, and players will always find ways to exploit things, and we and the community just have to stay vigilant.
Yep, exactly. So we've got a few more questions here. Another question by Sirius. We have a very tight-knit team that are loyal to BC players only and work together to better our strategies and gameplay. Are there any plans to integrate functions for teams like recognition, aside from tag in your name, team communication like chat or any other feature?
So yeah, the syndicate system will come in with its own chat functions, voice chat, all that kind of stuff, and obviously have tags in the name will be actually systemized rather than opt in. Yeah, the syndicate system that's coming in Nexus is definitely more about creating smaller, more tight knit communities within the factions, and also for providing a safe space for new players. So, there will be syndicates created that bring new players under their wings and will be part of that onboarding process.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. To be honest, Alex, I think there aren't many questions left. I actually don't think there are any questions left, just some things that people want to say. So it's nice. So I'm Mom said he's got a better understanding of why the battle arena was taken down, and he wants to thank us for explaining this. And Ice Pickle says this is why I keep asking questions about the grand vision of Supremacy, and he's glad that it's making sense, and is looking forward to what Supremacy's got moving forward.
So my favorite comment of today's AMA must be chat goes quiet when Morgan speaks. We are all
Yeah.
just in awe listening. Supremacy Jesus. I like that. That's fun. So
Supremacy he'll be going by that name now.
I think I'd rather be like John the Baptist, sort of ushering in the way.
There's
I
already
feel
a
like
John, unfortunately.
yeah, I think there can only be one.
Okay, so I think
I guess
that is yeah.
Sorry, Raj. Just a point I'd like to make to everyone listening is we will always commit to being transparent, and if that means doing an AMA right after making an unpopular decision, then we'll do it. I'm not afraid to answer anyone's questions. I don't like it when people just spread FUD and discontent and try to essentially farm clout in the community, and kind of anyone kind of trying to turn the community against itself. We have to act against people like that, because it's not operating in good faith. But any hard questions they have, anything they probably think we wouldn't answer, we will. and I'm never afraid of questions. Even when I can't actually answer them properly, I'll always do my best, and we'll always do our best as a team. And if the community feels like they don't get enough of an insight into the processes and goings on, in the studio, then we'll definitely make a concerted effort in the future to improve on that, and really bring people in and show them the process so that they can trust the process.
Okay. Awesome. So love the transparency. Yep, exactly right. Just see if we've got any more questions here.
Yeah, I think we'll definitely cut at in 13 minutes on the hour. So anyone final questions? Now's the time, and otherwise we will make our exits. I guess while there's no questions, I would like to push people to roadmap.supremacy.game, vote on feature requests there, and make feature requests, and they can be as far out into the future of Supremacy as you'd like. So if you've got some ideas in your head of how it could work, and maybe features that you are really dreaming to see, chuck them up there. The more input and involvement we can get from the community, the better. So make sure you check out roadmap.supremacy.game.
Right. We'll put that link in the in general chat for you guys to have a look at as well.
Had the creator looks like he's asking to come up and ask a question.
Yep. 1 second.
So I think we'll just answer text questions with only 10 minutes to go. I don't think we'll let anyone else up on the stage just to manage that time. So any questions, chuck them into the live AMA chat channel.
So we got 10 more minutes, guys. Just type in your questions into the chat and we'll ask them.
Yes, Yumiyu. We are going to do a flash sale. As soon as this AMA ends, I will put in the command and the flash sale will start. 24 hours. The AMA flash sale.
Hey, so Fox Saber's got a question here. It's asking, it seems to me that BC won a lot of matches and therefore subs to potentially buy Nexus crates. RM and Xi likely don't have the same capability in comparison. Do you think this will have effect in the new battle arena?
I mean, their crates don't go away, so we're not going to pull the crates when crate open day happens or anything like that. They'll always be there. They have more than enough chance over the next however long it takes to purchase some. So if you feel like you don't have the same capability, don't worry too much, but maybe don't take too long.
Okay, awesome. All right.
Was that the question about BC having won lots of matches and thus like extra subs and stuff?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely a pretty tricky it's a tricky one to solve because I mean obviously like they've got the subs and that means they're able to like buy more stuff. I mean one of my big sort of design goals is that when it comes to like a lot of like rarity of items, so like skins and such, like a lot of them are going to have a much smaller of an effect on gameplay balance than some people might expect, and that's because it can get really difficult to start balancing rarity related things. We might end up making that a bit more overt when we have some other progression systems, but at least to begin with, you'll see like skinned mechs getting a little bit of a bump, but it won't be like massive. Most of it is just going to be having these really really rare uncommon just cosmetic things that no one else will ever be able to get. Like we're not, as far as I know, we're not planning on like re-releasing the Nexus release skins again. So if you've got them, you're one of X number of people who will only ever be able to get them, and that will be pretty rare. And some of these look incredibly good, and that can be really valuable to people. If free-to-play games out there that sell skins on characters like hotcakes are anything to indicate, like if you've got one of the rare skins from these crates, like they are going to be real special regardless of whether they make your mech better or not. They might in the future, in that they might give you a like how do I put this? They might give you like a leg up in terms of like upgrading a mech, in that you might start with it being, more upgraded than the base amount because you have a particular skin on it to begin with, but it won't raise the cap any higher. We don't really want to go too hard on like pay to win stuff in terms of like pure stats, because that makes the whole system a bit too unpredictable and unstable and very, very hard to balance. Instead, the idea of like being able to acquire a lot of stuff gives you massive amounts of versatility, lots and lots of different choices, and also the ability to be able to, once we have multiple streams, once we've got other systems working, you'll be able to use having more of these weapons and more of these mechs to just be active in more spaces at once than someone who only has one mech might be able to. Once the syndicate stuff gets added, and you'll be able to pool your mechs and weapons into the syndicate, and people can sort of effectively like borrow them off to you to like further your syndicate's goals, and therefore be able to further your own goals as well. So hopefully any imbalance that happens prior to new items going on sale or new crates going on sale or anything like that will be mitigated by the fact that it'll only be a big benefit in certain vectors of the game. And then, of course, there are reactive ways that we can respond to existing issues. Like if we start running up against BC just dominating because they have so much more versatility and so much more mechs and whatever, because they've been able to get so many more subs or something like that, then we can just tweak game balance a little bit to ensure that things are as even as possible for like the actual game area of the of Supremacy. But also I have a very strong suspicion that a lot of that extra subs in earnings that Foxsaber mentioned probably went to a very small number of people rather than a wide number of people, and that mitigates the effects of that a great deal. So I'm not too concerned. There are lots of ways to deal with it if it does become an issue, especially if it becomes a recurring issue. But yeah, it's something I thought about, but it's not something I'm too worried about, is sort of the short version of the answer.
Okay,
Awesome.
last question. And I think Raj, if you could read Ice Pickle's question, and then we'll call it.
Awesome. So it seems to be a lot of recurring concern about the size of mech fleets causing game imbalance. Does the team see sizes of fleets being an imbalancing factor going forward?
It could always be a risk, and it's just up to Morgan to make sure it doesn't become a problem.
Yeah, I mean, I think I touched on that a little bit just now as well. I think my only primary concern about people, like one person having a really big fleet, is that while we have only, one, or maybe when we have two streams running, it does mean that you can end up with like a one player having their mechs in the arena for like 5 hours straight and no one else in their faction gets to, and that sucks. Like that's just not fun for anyone else. And it is like one problem that I have already picked up on with the way that the battle arena works at the moment is that it requires some like pre-planning for people to be able to enjoy it to its fullest by having a mech in a battle and also then using abilities. Because if a queue is really long, you would have to like get on several hours earlier and put your mech in and make sure that you're going to be there. And then also, what if some of the battles take longer or they take shorter amount of time than you expected, and now you're not able to. Basically, it is really difficult to just like get home from work, have a shower, have dinner, and be like, I want to play Supremacy for an hour without doing a bunch of stuff prior, and so we're hoping to introduce some stuff, especially with our onboarding, because this is really important that people can like sign up, do our new battle training stuff, make their profile, and then go to the battle arena and immediately get to do something that's fun and tangible, right? Like they don't have any opportunity to do any sort of pre-planning there. They don't even know about the idea of pre-planning, right? So we're wanting to implement some new stuff that will allow people to do a lot more pick up and play in a shorter amount of time. And if stuff like massive fleets become a problem based on how many concurrent streams we're able to have running, there are some ways that we can mitigate that. We could, only allow, someone to have so many mechs queued in one stream at a time. We could make it so that after, if you put 12 mechs in, it will stagger them out through the queue based on how many other people are in the queue as well. So maybe you'll have 2 battles in a row where it's all your mechs, but then somebody else, their mechs get to go in, and then somebody else's, and then it goes back to you, that sort of thing. Obviously, there's going to be dev considerations involved in implementing that sort of stuff. So I'll be very targeted in what it is that we're able to do, and I'll be talking to the devs a lot about what they're able to achieve, and what the most effective ways to do certain things are. But yeah, I am well aware of the fact that people, so a small number of people who have a large number of mechs are able to wrest control of certain elements of gameplay from the majority of people, right? That's kind of what it boils down to. And I don't really think that's healthy for the game, as much as I want those people to be able to be like, look, I got 50 mechs and I can do stuff with them all the time. I also want the person with 1 mech to be able to be like, yeah, I've got my mech and this one's mine, and I'm really good at the game because I just focus on stuff with this 1 mech, and I want to be able to play just as much as other people do. So there's lots of considerations, and what we can do about it differs from the short term to the long term. So yeah, hopefully we'll be able to have multiple kind of things coexist, especially once we're able to get more servers and more instances running. But a lot of that also depends on just having a good, strong, consistent player base. Like it's no good if we have 5 streams running, but there's 6 people on each stream at a time. Then it's spreading not enough butter over too much bread. So we need to make sure we have enough bread and enough butter for all of it.
I guess that is that's the key message in this AMA. Enough bread for enough butter.
Okay.
Right, Raj, do you want to wrap us up?
Yeah, sure. So thank you to everybody coming and speaking today and asking all your questions. Really do hope that we have answered everything that you had on your minds, and it can give you a little bit of an ease. These AMAs are happening quite often as well, so keep pumping your questions into the chat, and when the time comes for another AMA, we'll answer these questions for you. Be sure to stick around as well, though, because these crates will be opening soon, in a couple of days, I believe it is. So plenty to look forward to, and don't forget that after this there will be a flash sale as well. So yeah, get your crates.
And thank you to Marty for joining us and staying with us all the way to the end. And thank you to Miss Teen Crypto for joining us. And I also noticed Brad Yasser in our audience. So thank you for joining, Brad, and thanks for listening. And Brad's given us a lot of good advice on good ways to improve our onboard experience as well. So just a ton of advice that comes from Marty and Brad and Miss Teen Crypto. It's been immensely valuable, and also extend that to the feedback and support we've got from our community. So I really thank you so much to everyone for understanding that we made this decision for the best of reasons, and ultimately we did it for the health of the project, not to just upset the apple cart. So thanks for sticking with us, and I look forward to bringing the Battle Arena back and hearing what you all think. So thanks everyone for listening, and if you're catching this on YouTube, thanks for making the time, and yeah, cheers everybody. Look forward to seeing you in the Battle Arena soon.
Yeah, and look forward to some of the cool new stuff that we're going to hopefully have when it comes back, and also in the future. I've had to sort of skirt around talking about certain features because we sort of want them to be a bit of a surprise, or we're not totally sure how they're going to be yet. So look forward to those.
Yeah, look forward to the AMA where we get to chat about them directly. I'm sure everyone will have a ton of questions then. So I think we'll actually throw something in the schedule a bit earlier rather than 24 hours notice. Was it 16 hours notice? So next AMA will be sometime next week, and Raj will let you all know when exactly that is. Thanks, everyone.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.